Quiet Rage, The Stanford Prison Experiment, is a documentary that reflects on an experiment that was conducted at Stanford University in 1971. It was overlooked by Dr. Zimbardo, who conducted an experiment to study the behavioral and psychological effects of prison life. This is known as the Stanford Prison Experiment. This study involved various stakeholders, including 24 healthy male volunteers, who were randomly selected as either a prison guard or prisoner for a period of 2 weeks, while being overlooked by a group of professors from Stanford University. The main ethical conflict from this documentary as a result of the experiment was the continuation of the experiment after participants were seen being mistreated both mentally and physically without a direction from the panel. This is because of Dr. Zimbardo's personal involvement in the experiment, making himself the prison superintendent instead of overlooking the experiment from a third-party view. As a result of Zimbardo's involvement, he forgot the reality of the situation he has created. As a result of this experiment, there were everlasting impacts on the stakeholders. From the 24 volunteers, the mass majority who played the role as a prisoner have been impacted throughout their life as a result of this experiment. This experiment also impacted staff members who overlooked the experiment, the volunteers' family, and Stanford University as a whole. Now that we have an understanding of the stakeholders' involvement and an idea of the main ethical conflict, we'll take a closer look at the main ethical conflict.
As the 12 men who were chosen to be prisoners were picked up at their residences by police and were going through the process of being arrested, the other 12 men who were selected as prison guards had a brief orientation about their expectations as guards. This orientation did not include clear or direct guidelines about how they should act in their role or what to do in certain situations. This led to the guards severely mistreating the prisoners and acting superior to them from the minute the experiment began and escalated as the experiment continued. By day 1, the prisoners were already testing the prison guards' authority. As a result, the guards forced the prisoners to strip naked because of their actions and immediately began punishing prisoners for any behavior they viewed as disobedient. The prisoners were forced to do push-ups for several hours, clean out toilet bowls with their hands, go to the bathroom in a bucket without emptying the bucket for several hours, and involved prisoners to publicly shame each other. Throughout the study, participants were unable to leave the experiment if they requested. For instance, less than 32 hours into the experiment, inmate 8612 had a mental breakdown and wanted to get out of the experiment. The prison guards would not let him leave, and the people in charge of the experiment did not acknowledge the situation. After multiple attempts, they finally let the prisoner go. Throughout all of this mistreatment, Dr. Zimbardo failed to acknowledge Tompkins' concept of ethical discernment. Ethical discernment is defined as the ability to recognize ethical issues and make ethical distinctions to formulate judgments about what is good, right, and virtuous. Dr. Zimbardo did not use ethical discernment to acknowledge what the prison guards were doing to the prisoners was unethical. He could have recognized this as an ethical dilemma and done what was right, which would have been stepping in and act to correct the problem.
Dr. Zimbardo also used Tompkins' concept of rationalization when continuing on with the experiment. Rationalization can occur when an individual bases their decision on their own personal interests and are not ethically responsive to what is good, right, or virtuous for others affected by their actions. Therefore, Dr. Zimbardo continued on with the experiment because it was good for his personal aspirations regarding his research instead of looking out for those directly involved, such as the prisoners and prison guards. This caused Dr. Zimbardo to overlook the mistreatment and toxic environment.
My personal ethical credo reflects my personal commitments to myself as an ethical communicator and a person of integrity. I believe there is good in every person and that people will change for the better when others are dependent on them. I support others who communicate with integrity and honesty while striving to do the same. As a communicator, I will weigh my needs as the same as others around me when sharing my thoughts and ideas. I strive to always consider how my words may impact those around me, and this is why I will always commit to the ethical principle of integrity. For if Dr. Zimbardo acted with integrity throughout his experiment, there would have been a clear guidelines on what prison guards could and couldn't do. As Tompkins stated, when you practice integrity, you feel personal responsibility to put your ethical commitments into practice, even when your life would be easier setting those commitments aside. Therefore, when Dr. Zimbardo wanted to continue the experiment, he set aside the ethical commitments of his volunteers' mental and physical health first by focusing on his personal desire to further his research regarding the physical and psychological effects of prisons.
I am committing to the ethical principle of ethical caring and responsiveness. I will continue to care responsibly and competently for my own and others' needs, and I will be attentive to caring for myself and others. I strive to act with pride in each situation and remain loyal to all the individuals that I encounter. I strive to prioritize basic human rights. I will be mindful when communicating with people that I know, do not know, or are different from myself. I will remain open-minded and treat others the way that they want to be treated. Taking time to reflect on the documentary involving the Stanford Prison Experiment inspired my commitment to the value of ethical caring. Dr. Zimbardo did not respond to the mental and physical needs of others in a time of crisis. If he was responsive, he would have cared for the individuals who were being affected in the experiment and created a safe environment for the participants. I will work to create a safe, inclusive, and judgment-free environment around me at all times.